Ready Check Radio. What's up, Internet? It's Thursday. It's 7 p.m. Eastern. That means here on Ready Check Radio, it's time for the Relic Grind. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy XIV, new live letter. We're going to talk about Square Enix and some finances that may or may not have met expectations, and so much more. Happy Thursday. I'm Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man, your host. As always, this is episode 142. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Audible, any of the podcast platforms, thank you so much. We appreciate it. While you're there, give it a like, a subscribe, do all that stuff, right? Turn on the notifications. Comment what you're thinking on the Square Enix front. And if you're ever bored here on Thursday night, you can join us live, twitch.tv. You can head right to the website there, Ready Check Radio. All the backlog of this show, Gaming Gumbo, they are all available on the website, and all the socials are in the upper right-hand corner. Joining me, fresh home from a blizzard, Mr. Chris Montoya. What's up, Tarkoth?
I'm just trying to survive the next Idaho snowpocalypse. So yeah. It's apparently supposed to get up to 10 inches, but I'm here. So
you made it. You made it safely
and warm.
Yes.
I made it safely.
And our other host, Mr. Paul Berlin, aka Flynn from overseas, who, when Tark was communicating with me earlier today about, if he's late, I was like, well, I cannot go late today. I've got plans after the show. And by the way, Flynn usually can't go any later than this at this point anyway. So, but he did make it. He did make it. So, how you doing there, Flynn? What's up?
I'm good. I'm usually awake till about 3, so I could push a bit.
Yeah, I don't really like to ever really ask you to go later. I mean, given that depending on the time of the year, we're already 7 p.m. here, and it's 5 or 6 hours ahead of us, depending on time of the year. So
yeah, it's only
it all worked out. It all worked out. It all worked out. Tark got home safely, and we're ready to talk about Seekers of Eternity.
Yeah.
Seekers of Eternity, the 7.2 patch coming. We got part 1 of the live letter this past week here since last show. And obviously main quest stuff, right? It's going to continue right where we left off with Crossroads. So, again, I hope this one's a little better, right? Crossroads just kind of left me like it was interesting, talking to the people and seeing how they react to what is like their only leader or god dying, right? But yeah, so I'm interested to see where it goes, and I hope things start picking up. Flynn, this was the patch where you kind of forecasted, things are going to start picking up. They kind of have to go from 7.2 into the subsequent patches that will eventually lead to 8.0. Did you get that kind of impression from the live letter? I know Yoshi P really doesn't talk a lot about main scenario.
A bit more.
Really?
Yeah, purely because of what the trial is. It's like story fine, but the trial boss, no, that's interesting.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. Like, we usually just break this up into little bits. So we'll get to the dungeon and the raid and the trials and all the new content.
Yeah. But huzzah for long-form content. Pity it's going to be another 3 months plus before we get to try it.
Yeah. I mean, we do have the part 2 live letter coming, but this patch, late March. Yeah, so looking at the calendar and upcoming events here, I mean,
I feel like if it was going to week mark is the 25th.
Is the 25th, yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think the 18th, they would have said mid-March, and that really doesn't fit with the cadence we've kind of had. So literally the last Tuesday of March, that would definitely qualify as late March in my book.
I think it also makes sense from the next mini patch being next week, 28th or something for Savage Unlock.
Is it really getting to you guys now, the extra quote unquote 2 weeks in between that were added to each patch development cycle? One, I feel like, I haven't looked, but to know if it's right or not, but it feels like longer than 2 weeks in some cases. But assuming it's not, and it's just a feeling, like, is it really getting to you at this point that there is a noticeable difference when the cadence slows down even by 2 weeks per patch, Tark?
Yes and no, but so I dabble in the ultimate, so I'm still working on my fruit clear phase 4 enrage. Yay, we're close. But I've also embraced Yoshi P's, like, it's fine, go play something else. And I've been playing like Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, trying to work my way up to Elden Ring. So I've got more time to do other things, which is kind of nice. But yeah, if I was just devoted solely to Final Fantasy XIV, it's
Here's the thing that I really don't like about it, though, right? 2 weeks is just enough time that you're like, oh, yeah, I don't feel like I have to play. I can go play some other stuff. I can take Yoshi P's advice, etc. But it's not enough to be like, I should just unsub for a little while. Like, it's like perfectly timed.
Yeah, it's not the old World of Warcraft where, 9 months, like, okay, I've done everything I need to. I'm unsubbing for 3-4 months. So
yeah, it's like the perfect amount of time to just be like, well, there's no point in canceling my sub. So, I mean, I'm literally doing next to nothing in it right now. I finished the rep grind for the Society quest, the Pelu Pelu, which, I know I already had the minion in the mount. It was just capping it off into Sworn, which got my white mage to 100. So, nice. I have more than one class at 100. And yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't feel, I'm so off the gear treadmill for this expansion, and I just don't care, like, about it. I'm just like, you know what, I'm not progging, Ultimates and Savage and stuff like that. I'll eventually run it, and I do dabble in it, with a couple of friends or a pickup group here and there, but I'm not like a weekly prog guy, so there's no reason for me to be aggressively grinding out tomestones for, and then tokens and whatever for the next pieces. So I do kind of enjoy it, but it's also is one of those, like, am I getting my money's worth out of this anymore? Like, and it's not that I don't love the game. That's not the issue. It's just a game that I pay for. Yeah. And we've seen a lot of that feedback since Dawntrail. We've talked about it on this show, Flynn, where a lot of people have kind of felt the same way, that the story isn't doing it for them. The cadence is a little slower. And when the things are delivered, it's exactly what you expect every single time. And while there's a certain element of that that's good for players, always expecting the same, hey, we're going to get a raid here, we're going to get dungeons here. The formula can also, after time, have the reverse effect, and it's stagnant, because getting 2 new dungeons is great. But if it's just a new visual location for pull everything to the gate, nuke it down, kill the boss, rinse and repeat 3 times, and you're done, then you stop looking forward to it the way you might have years ago. So it's a weird spot right now, I think, for 14.
I know I've been saying it for a while. Especially with Dawntrail, I am feeling the lack of long-form content more than any other time in the game's history. Like, look at the Cosmic Exploration. It's like, you could start that on expansion launch, well, in one of the subsequent mini patches, just to have something there, because they delayed this now for...
Or at least 7.1, right?
So we're at least a year into release now, by the time this actually comes out.
I mean, as far as the new content that Flynn's speaking to, right? Let's talk about some of the smaller bits, and then we'll get into those 2 bigger bits, right? New allied society quests. It's going to be the Mummlejaw. So if you're behind on a gathering job, or you like me, you really only level a gathering job when there's a new society quest or beast tribe. Here you go. That's coming. More Hildebrand stuff that'll return. It technically returned, right, with like this little intro kind of thing, but will return in earnest. New side quest. They're bringing the Corn Servant back. I love the Corn Servant. I'm all for it. But
I need that.
You didn't do it yet? Oh, he's cute. But apparently players love them, so they're going to add in a little more content there, a little couple quests, I would imagine. I'm all for it. The Corn Servant was great. The new Elegant Tomestones will be called Mathematics. And then duty support is going to be added for Sunken Temple of Karn, allowing players to attempt the content solo with NPC and party members, so you can trust up for that. PvP Series 8 begins, 7 concludes. We've got the new dungeons and stuff, which we'll get to those separately. So those are like the little bits of content. But jumping to the bigger two things that were revealed here, we knew about them, but they were shown in kind of more earnest in this live letter, is first up Cosmic Exploration, which Flynn already alluded to. So this is kind of weird. Like if you think about what was it? Ishgardian Restoration, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And you think about your Island Sanctuary, right? They're kind of going to try to hit the middle ground right in between the two, right? Ishgardian Restoration suffered from if you weren't there when it happened, it almost became A, not interesting to do at all, and B, not really beneficial to do, and C, more challenging to do than it actually was meant to be. Like, if you weren't there when it dropped. They're going to try and do away with that here in the way they're doing Cosmic Exploration, by making this something that if you came 2 expansions from now, you might still want to go do this and you would have no problem doing it. But it's not going to be as like solo-oriented as the Island Sanctuary stuff is. Yeah. So kind of trying to tread that middle ground. New mounts, new glamours, all that good stuff there.
I mean, if there's a new mount, you can sign Kronos up. He'll be all over that.
Oh, yeah, he absolutely will. He absolutely will. And more fun with Loporettes, right? Who doesn't want to hang out with the Loporettes?
Absolutely.
Or naming way.
Naming way, yeah, actual naming way.
Yeah, and we're gonna there's gonna be a new star to explore in the rest of every single .x patch in the 7 series will give us a new one. The flip side of that is the field operation Occult Crescent. This is going to be the relic stuff, so Bosja, Save the Queen, like all that fun stuff that you remember. This is going to be that as well. Again, though, with a couple little changes that we haven't seen in previous iterations of this. And they did specifically, Tark, address feedback on the last relic and just farming up tomestones for the Hildies, right?
Yeah, that was just abysmally bad. We've gone over it, but and now you could just throw poetics at it. You know, you get those en masse. So get a relic for poetics. Congratulations, you've earned it.
Yeah. So again, it's one of those we're going to try and tread the middle ground things.
Yeah, you're going to try to tread the middle ground. You can hopefully, if you want to just stay in the new content, that's awesome. But they're also going to try to find that alternative path, kind of like Bosja did. Eureka wasn't good at that, but Bosja treaded that middle ground. Much better about, you can go out, do fates or other sort of stuff. But I just want Atmos to come back and Mike to cry about it.
Yeah. A 48-player raid will be available to challenge in there as well. And then here's like the really interesting bit that I want your opinions on. Okay. We're going to have, Flynn, a feature that's they've kind of called it Phantom Jobs for right now. And maybe that's the official name they end up using, or maybe it's a placeholder. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Yeah. But you're going to, when you equip, you can only use them here, right? In the Occult Crescent stuff. And when you do, you'll get new actions that are associated or can be used with your main job's abilities. So like a warrior, they gave the example, if you equip like a monk or a bard phantom job, you would be a warrior with some of additional abilities from those jobs. They would have different actions that benefit you in different ways. So we previously had, what was it, like the potions?
Yeah.
Elixirs
things,
the elixirs, whatever it was, and so now it's jobs, and some of the ones they talked about were Geomancer, Ranger, Berserker, Time Mage, Chemist, and Cannoneer. There will probably be more. Those were just like the ones that were specifically mentioned. Now, Yoshi P said that the team wants to implement new jobs in 8.0, so don't think that this is a replacement for adding new jobs to the game proper. But they did want to circle back to jobs that might not fit with 14 conceptually and find a way to put them in. And so Phantom jobs might be able to do some like more unorthodox things going forward. But I thought it was interesting that they put like the one when he said that may not fit conceptually and chemist was on the list. I was like, oh shit! Like that was.
Yeah.
Remember, we thought chemist. There was a good chance chemist was going to be the healer that was added in
Endwalker.
dawntrail. Yeah, in Endwalker, and then we thought green mage at some point. So they didn't specifically say green mage, but they did mention time mage, which was another one.
I've been clamoring for time mage. I'm like, please, time mage.
Yeah, I don't know if I like this
Heaven's
or
Sword
not.
Astro was them trying to do time mage, and they just couldn't get it working.
Yeah,
And
and
the
then
game does not fit with you trying to speed up too much.
Yeah, and that's exactly the problem with time mage. Haste and slow just don't really work in this game, unfortunately. I would love it to, and maybe that's where we get to play with stuff in this new content. But like with Astro, there was all these time aspects, but like they slowly have been edging that out of the kit and renaming stuff and reimagining stuff for them. So I'm excited for Time Age. I've been wanting for a long time, so that is my go-to with Sage. So we're gonna try that out first.
This seems a little weird to me, Flynn. It almost seems like, we want to give the nod to these classes that people keep asking us about, but we also don't want to make them all limited jobs, because limited jobs are, whether you like them or not, they are an awful lot of development work to begin with. And they're never going to make it as full classes for one reason or another. So here, equip quote unquote time mage and get 3 new abilities, or however many it ends up being. I can't imagine like this being super in depth.
I'm wondering if they're actually going to take inspiration from 5, because we have got a freelancer job where, as you master all the others, when you go back to freelancer, you have a bigger toolkit attached. But in my mind, I think they're using this as a questionnaire of sorts to see what Phantom jobs people are enjoying. This go, well, what if we actually incorporate this into a real job now?
Really? Because I think if that's the plan, you can't possibly go out and say this is a way for us to experiment with jobs that just don't fit conceptually.
Turn this into a real job. It's not just against like, if we feel like it work, we could make it still. Because we know the way Geomancer will work in this is probably going to be different to how we've seen Gazetsu and other Geomancers in the wider Eorzea.
I love them playing with this stuff. Don't get me wrong. I love this conceptually. I just also don't. I'm like, okay, but by using jobs, it kind of feels like really fan servicey. Like this literally could have been
all right.
Drink an earth potion and gain the Geomancer's abilities, right? The fact that like they're tying a job to it instead of making it an item that does this or something just feels a little
more Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah, it just feels like, hey, we gotta tie in some.
Oh, look at dawntrail and all the 9 knots.
Fan service. I'm sorry. Are you new to Final Fantasy XIV?
Yeah, no, I get it.
This is fan service the game. What are you on about?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm kind of curious about this one. This generally, like, this is content that I personally, I'm like one and done, right? Just I don't really worry about the relics. Sometimes I'll do them, sometimes I don't. It's not something I do every single patch. Eureka, I walked away from. Bosja, I finished. Like, it was, do I like the content or not? But I don't sit there and grind out the relics if I'm not enjoying what's going on to grind out the relics. And I think to their point here, and Tark, you mentioned it, I think the ability to go back and forth on what I was doing was a big help. Like if I didn't want to do Bosja today, or I just wasn't feeling it, or the groups weren't there, or it wasn't working out, or whatever, all right, then you know what? I'm just going to go grind some fates instead. I'll swap to another class and gain some levels at the same time, something like that. And I'm glad that they're doing that. I'm curious about the jobs here. I do think it is a little cheeky way of just like, hey, we're never building a berserker, but here, play with a berserker, and then don't ask us to make it a limited class because we already made it here.
What sub job, phantom job would you like to see maybe added that you think would just never come to the game?
Puppet Master.
Puppet Master?
Unequivocally. Well, yeah, that's not really like I'm not going to say it's not a Final Fantasy thing, but it's not generally like a Final Fantasy class when you start running the list of classes. You don't really hit Necromancer until you get way down there, and you really have to have played some very particular titles to even get there. I think Puppet Master makes the most sense for me. And that's probably my love for Beastmaster and Puppet in 11 shining through, and knowing that those aren't really going to work. And in fact, I mean, we're getting Beast as a limited class because of it not working as a regular class. So I would like to see Pup messed with here. But if they have plans for Pup as a limited class, then don't put it here. Don't eat it here. No, give it to me as a limited class instead if you have plans for it. But if you're never going to do it, that would be mine. Pup, what about you?
I was thinking Necromancer for myself. I was like, that would
Really?
be freaking dope. If we could have a bunch of minions just running around, just have them swarm, that'd be sick.
Yeah, that's one I don't think they'll even do as a phantom job.
Yeah.
What, Necro?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a boss in Shadowbringer's dungeon.
Yeah, but it's never really been. It's been a job class. Like it's been a
but
job
we're also
class,
set
but
in
not
14 in China where you can't do certain things.
right.
I mean,
like,
I got
but,
what I really wanted, Time Age. So I'm like,
right,
I'm
but
happy.
you don't. Yeah, you know, and most of that was what Final Fantasy V, wasn't it? Yeah. Where they could summon undead and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you had to like fight Necromancer characters first before you could unlock that job. And I think it's been in like some other small things, but like Airborne Brigade. Do you remember that? I think it was in there.
No.
I have to look it up to make sure. But I think Necromancers were in Airborne Brigade too. Anyway, yeah, it's not really one. You know me, Tark. I'd love it. Give me a Necro. But again, it kind of fits in that same mold of Beast and Pup, right? It's essentially a pet class.
Yeah.
And they just don't really do that. Like
Even
or
summoners not really a pet class.
Yeah, even summoners, they're not a pet class anymore. So I wouldn't hold out hope for it.
The one I'll be curious about is if they add mime. But then again, Eureka and Worship both had Reflect, so it's logical.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because, like, if you think about it, a blue mage is very mime, right? It's actually learning the abilities rather than mimicking the abilities. But so there's some similarities there. Like, if you're going to say the blue mage doesn't work in the 14 ecosystem, I think you probably say mime doesn't work in it either.
Mm-hmm.
What else have we got? Oh, the dungeons.
Hey.
The Underkeep. The Underkeep, which looks fantastic. Yeah. I love the look.
This screams
like
the invasion of Alexandria.
Okay, I was gonna see if any of you said it before I did. Yes.
Yeah,
like,
it's actually Castle Alexandria, right?
Yeah, like it has to be. Like, look at that look from the outside, and then look at that look at the inside. That is almost like a copy of the staircase Zorn and Thorn
very much
running up, right? Like,
so during the last week, I actually went back into 9 to finish up my platinum trophy, so it's quite fresh in my head.
Yeah. Like, it's like, come on, just announce it already.
Well, they did announce one of the Final Fantasy IX Moogles coming out the end of June.
This is true.
Figure.
Just announce the damn remake already.
We know it exists.
Moogle going to be raunchy? Huh?
Yeah. They're like, you know what? If
we'll get to that later.
Moogle semi-nude, we might make a lot of money.
Well, Artemisian has to buy his coating somehow.
Yeah. Then we have what was this?
Arcadian.
Yeah.
Cruiserweight division.
Yeah, the cruiserweight or cruiserweight division of the Arcadian raid. Whatever. I'm kind of
It's
okay
savage.
on the storyline there. Yeah,
It's a dungeon. It's a raid.
it's a raid. It's a raid.
We're in the next tier of WWE. That's it.
All right, now Flynn, I'll let you go here. What do you want to talk about?
Ooh. This, obviously, to anyone who knows 9, is Beatrix, the General of Alexandria. Obviously, not going to use that name since Otis, who is very much Steiner, is called Otis. I am hoping Sogan does an amazing rendition of the Rose of May, which is Beatrix's theme.
It'll be top notch.
That'd be
You
pretty
can
sick.
guarantee it.
That'd be pretty sick.
Like, this has made me more hyped for the story. Just like, I don't care about the rest of it. Just show me how this version of Beatrix fits in as a general.
Well, she's going to be after the dungeon. It's going to be dungeon and then her.
Yeah. Well.
So
I'm going to show some footage here just because I thought it was neat footage. This is
oh my god,
14 at Tokyo Game Show. So I just think that it's kind of neat footage here while I go through some of the final announcement stuff that we saw. Collaboration with Fujifilm for an instant camera emote. That's actually coming later this month on February 25th. And then they are running with an Echoes of Vanadiel discount campaign. So we've talked about this for a long time, how it's something they should do. And this seems like, Flynn, you were talking earlier about maybe this is like a survey. No, this is a survey, bro. This is absolutely a survey.
Yep. 100%.
This is a stepping stone.
Well, I don't think it's a stepping stone yet. I think it's pending the results of.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. This is a survey. If you are a Final Fantasy XIV subscriber and you are not currently either a subscriber to Final Fantasy XI or you've just never played Final Fantasy XI, right? You cannot be an active subscriber of 11 to get this, which really fucking sucks because that means I got back into the game like 2 months too early because I've been playing it like every day. But if you aren't subbed or you've never played Final Fantasy XI and you would like to try it, starting yesterday, they put in a campaign that you can have a reduced Final Fantasy XI subscription for 30 days as long as you are actively subscribed to Final Fantasy XIV. It breaks down into basically $6.95. $5.95 of that is the sub, and $1 is for your character. They charge you $1 per character in 11. So you're going to pay $6.95 to play one character. You're getting the sub at about half price. It's $12 minus whatever plus $1 or cut in half plus $1. So it's $6.95 as opposed to having to pay $12.95. Almost a 50% discount.
If
you end up having to
player, but you also get 30 days free.
Well, so you got to be careful. Yeah, you got to be brand new on that front.
Yeah, I made sure
like,
to do the double brand.
as in so new, you don't own the software because you still have to buy the software for this game. It still has a box fee too. On Steam, it's typically on sale for like $10, sometimes $15. I think the most I've ever seen it up for recently is $20. In fact, I'll go check right now while we're talking about it. No, not 14. Not 14 Steam.
XI.
Yep, and it auto-finished. Actually, right now it's 30. Oh, okay. So this edition is 30 because it's the Ultimate Seekers edition, the one that I happen to be looking at. I mean, this will literally get you every single thing all the way up till now. So $30. You can occasionally catch it on sale. Anyway, for the next month until March 11th, if you've never purchased the game, just buying that $30 game on Steam is going to give you one free month to begin with. And then you will get the 1 month at the $6.95 rate. So you can double dip there as long as you buy and sign up, before March 11th. If you're like me and you are currently subbed to both, you're boned. You get nothing. You get no discount. They're not going to discount you by a month or anything. And the discount, by the way, is only good for 1 month. So don't be like, oh, I'm going to buy a year of sub at this. No, you only get the $6.95 for one 30-day window. So this is absolutely a survey. So many people, including us, have said they really should just bundle these subs. And we've even, some people were like $2, $3. We were like, yeah, it's not going to be that. It's going to be like $6 or $7. They'll cut it in basically half. That's exactly what they're doing here.
Yeah. And they've always said, the payment systems are different, so they can't do it. Well,
they're annoyingly different.
Yeah.
Well,
so it shows they can do something about it.
Well, does it though? Because you still have to use 2 different payment systems here. This isn't a bundle. This is just, hey, you have to sign, and all they're doing is tying into the Square Enix account. That's it. Yeah. When you sign up into Final Fantasy XI, it's pinging your Final Fantasy XIV Square Enix account. You have to have both of those games on the same Square Enix account. So that's the validation point, not the payment system. They're not bundling the sub. It's 2 different fees, 2 different payment systems. It's just, do you have both games and an active sub tied to the same Square Enix account? Okay, fine, we'll give you a couple of bucks off. So I still believe them, Flynn, on like they can't do that or they have severe reservations or concerns with doing it. Obviously, the answer is change your payment system, right? If that's the case.
Yeah.
But if you've ever thought about playing it, now is the time, because I guarantee this is going to be used to make the final decision on whether they do a long-term bundle type thing, whether it's 2 payment systems or 1. This will be we only had 1,000 people take advantage of it, so there's no cost benefit to us reducing the current rate for people like Mike, right? If they're getting 13 from me and they're getting 15 from me on both games, why would they take $7 when they're getting 13? There's got to be enough of you doing this thing. Are you going to try it, Tark? I know you dabble in 11 anyway.
I'm still subbed. I think I've been subbed for a year, so I don't I don't get any benefit from this. But every once in a while, yes, I will go in and I will dabble. And I hope it succeeds because 11 is a good game.
Yep.
There's just a lot.
Flynn, you going to hop in?
I think the next time I see it on disc and I've got the funds, I'll probably finally purchase it.
Hey.
Got him. Square, you got one.
Yeah, 14 is done. It's like, yeah, this is better than
one for 2
dawntrail.
months.
I want to see the old story.
So other things, we got a tacos collaboration with some flavored chips coming up. The Black Milk Clothing collaboration was fully detailed. We talked about that last show. Primal's live in Japan coming up on the Blu-ray disc and special box. That's going to release later this month. And then one little weird thing here. This starting with the next Little Ladies Day seasonal event, Scions might appear in the artwork, but they may not appear in the actual event scenario. Typically, they don't appear on the seasonal events because they would be confusing to newer players who had not yet encountered them in the main scenario. So, yeah, watch the artwork, but don't hold them to the artwork, I guess.
That's weird.
It is weird. Yoshi P, by the way, did mention the Stalker mod. I'm still not happy with what their lack of any real oomph behind this right now.
I'm glad he managed to say at least they're doing something. Fair enough, don't explain how you're doing it, so the naughty people don't know what you're doing and prepare countermeasures, but I'm glad it's actual wording now is that we have got something that's happening.
Yeah, again, he wasn't specific. He just said he cannot say how far we're going, but with patch 2, yes, we are taking steps to counteract this. Talking about the blacklist functionality that gets exposed by the Stalker mod. And then he just took some time to reiterate that, hey, this is not your personal information. It's just the characters and the account, a partial portion of the account number, etc. The player ID number, I should say, not account number.
Unique to tag your character. That's as far as we could go.
And Final Fantasy XIV continues to be the financial driver behind Square Enix. I mean, like it or not, and what that means for the long-term success. Yeah, I mean, it's literally been carrying it, for years now. Dawntrail pulled down big numbers, man. Apparently, if you expected the numbers to come in low because of people not liking it or media buzz or whatever, that's not the case. it pulled down big numbers. Now, whether or not those players stay and the revenue stays consistent through the patch, I think is the number to look at. But as far as buying the expansion, that's fine. The MMO side of Square Enix hit 288.4 million. That's a 26% increase. The revenue, the MMO department as a whole. But the company as a whole saw drops in both sales and net profits, down 3.5% and over 7.5% respectively versus last year. The HD games portion of the business, which has been getting beat up in years past recently, that it was actually more profitable this time around, but most of that came as a reduction of advertising costs, not really tremendous sales. However, a special nod to Dragon Quest III HD 2D, who managed to do the impossible, Flynn.
Impossible.
Somehow managed to do the impossible. What did they do?
Well,
they did more numbers than the company anticipated they would do.
They broke the meme. They broke tradition.
That's it. It's done. No more.
It exceeded expectations, not the other way around. They managed reasonable expectations. They are learning. By God, they are learning.
It did better than they thought it was going to do. So kudos to Dragon Quest III HD 2D. Another bonus in the finances, Tark, came from the merch department.
Yeah. We got a couple new statues. One's a Tifa one, and one's a 2B one that you can, has different parts, and you kind of, what does they say? To your appeal, dress her up to your appeal. And one of them's, got a whole bunch of booty on it. Whole bunch of booty.
Yeah, that was the one that was $2,600, by the way.
$2,600.
Yeah.
Which still is not up to the standard of my Final Fantasy XIV Collector's Edition, which, I purchased for like 7,000. So
yeah, it's getting there. Apparently those items did quite well.
Yeah,
quite well.
I
the merch department.
Square Enix merchandising right now. I told you guys that the Winter Cup that just happened in Wales, they did a pop-up shop. So they've got a Kingdom Hearts chess set in, which is $700.
Oh.
On the online website right now, they've now slashed it to half price.
Company as a whole came in at 100, just a little shy of 162 million in profits. Okay, it's clearly not going anywhere. Not where they wanted to be, but it is in line with their revised financial projections already, so they're not going to be adjusting their forecast further. So in line, but down. And literally, I just wrote an article an hour and a half ago. Ubisoft is basically the same way. In line, but down, and we're not revising forecasts. So it seems to be a trend across the industry right now. We're down, but in line with expectations after we revised our expectations. If, by the way, though, speaking of finances, if you're one of those ones that maybe doesn't get your Final Fantasy game time cards from a reputable outlet, maybe you're paying half price or sometimes even lower because there's people stealing credit cards, buying game cards, selling the game cards for discounted prices. Square Enix is changing their policy on this. So beware right now. One, you shouldn't be doing it. That's shitty to begin with. To the people that get their credit card numbers and shit stolen and then have to go through all the aggravation to cancel the charges and shit. But two, you will actually be held accountable for those now. In the past, Square Enix has kind of taken this, give the player the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they didn't know that they got it from a less than reputable place, which I think is silly, but that's what they were doing. Now they've seen such an increase, a significant increase, according to their quotes on this one, that they put up a whole post on the Lodestone, links to legit places to buy it, like Amazon, stuff like that. And it's actually going to cost the players that use the cards. If you use these cards and they catch you, your account will be suspended. No warnings. It will just be suspended. And to get your account back, it is not just pay up for a new sub. It is you'll have to sub again, and you need to pay the total cost of the previous card that you used to make it a whole month's worth of sub. So you will pay, if you bought it for $7 instead of 15, you're going to pay that 7 to Square Enix plus another 8 to make it 15 for the month to bring your account current, and then you will have to sub up and pay that first month going forward. So you're going to be out $30 to turn your account back on, all because you tried to save 8. Yeah. So I honestly, I'm amazed it took them this long.
Yeah.
It must have gotten really bad because they tried not to forever.
Yeah, they're always. What is it about 14? They're always just so hands off. It's like, oh, I don't want to
see, but I don't have a problem with that aspect, right? Like when the reason you're doing that is because you're trying to be a little more customer centric and give your players and customers the benefits of the doubt. I'm totally on board with you trying that, but stuff like this, I don't think you really needed to tread the line here. It's like if somebody's redeeming cards that you then find out are half price, or were being charged back, and Square Enix is losing the money now, then yeah, you should say, hey, account flagged. You need to bring your payment status current. They shouldn't even have to tell you why. Just, hey, the card you bought was charged back. If this was you, you need to pay again. If this wasn't you, you likely bought a fraudulent card. So contact your bank, pay us our 15.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Did you guys see Warcraft just take Square aim at 14 this week?
Oh, yeah. Just you're like, hey, do you like housing? Yeah, I know that game has housing. Guess what? We're better. They just took 14 over and just went spank.
Yeah, they didn't say 14.
They didn't.
But they didn't need to.
Yeah. Everyone knew.
Yep. Whoops, this is not what I wanted. I wanted the housing link. They provided a first look at housing that's coming in their next expansion. Finally, World of Warcraft getting player housing. And they kind of defined their 3 pillars, Flynn, for the way they want housing to work, right? They said our highest priority was self-expression. Allowing players to build a house that shows off their personal tastes or warbands, acts as a desired backdrop for role-playing, and it just allows players to create something fancy. Okay, cool. But then they went in a little further, and they said, we've seen a lot of discussion and speculation from the community on where players will be able to live. We've set up 2 housing zones. And here's our thing. Having zones conflicts with our second pillar of design that this should be social. And putting it bluntly, zones are a lot of work. But with statements like, if you want a house, you get a house.
Yes.
And this being all-encompassing, they took literal Square aim at Final Fantasy XIV. A home for everyone. We want to be able to ensure that housing is available to everyone. If you want a house, you can have a house. And then they go into specifics. No exorbitant requirements or high purchase costs, i.e. a shit ton of gil. No lotteries, Tark.
What?
And no onerous upkeep. If your subscription lapses, don't worry, your house doesn't get repossessed. Your houses are also shared amongst your warband, with all of your characters being able to come and go as you see fit. If your orc character can hang out in your alliance house, that's no problem. Housing rewards are also shared across your warband, so you'll be able to use your decor collection no matter which character owns it. And furthermore, it's not just warbands that cross functional lines, but friendship as well. So you'll be able to live in or visit your friends or guildmates' house and their neighborhoods with minimal restrictions regarding factions. While it's not possible for your human character to buy a house in the Horde zone, your troll character in the same warband can, and then your human could use it as if it were their own. Literal put Square Enix in the sights, Flynn, right in the sights, and just rattled it all off.
Yeah, insert stop it, he's already dead meme.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. It goes from Oprah, you get a house, you get a house, and you get a house to, yeah.
And then to just pick apart every bad feature of Final Fantasy XIV's housing, the cost, the lotteries, the making sure you have to sub.
Yeah, the demolition thing, it just was straight at 14. And I love it because it's really kind of sad. Like you tell people, no, it's okay, you can unsub for a while and play other games. But by the way, when you come back, you might have lost your house. Sorry.
We sent you an email.
Yeah. Can you remember when 14 promised that if apartments got full, they'd keep adding new apartments, and that hasn't happened?
Yeah. Oh, good times.
A few other little tidbits here, just real quick, and then we're gonna call it a show here. It's still a thing, ish, probably, maybe.
Question mark.
As reported by Automaton, Yuji Horii, might know that name from, I don't know, Dragon Quest XII, said that, hey, Square Enix is still working hard on Dragon Quest XII, and that the company plans to release more information about the game little by little. Well, I mean, they're certainly achieving that.
Yeah, because we've gotten what? No, wait, nothing.
Right.
They're doing a better job than
They're doing a great job there. They're doing a great job on that, releasing information little by little. But hey, I mean, I guess it's better that confirmation's not a thing.
Like I said, it's been 1,000 days since Kingdom Hearts 4 news.
Yep. And then who added this? Was this you, Flynn, or was this you, Tark? Flynn, go ahead. I did not see this, so I'm kind of like reading through it.
Yeah, so we talked about earlier, funny enough, about payment systems being wacky for 11 and 14. So Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, the remaster, the iOS version is shutting down. Mainly because
didn't they take it offline for a little while though?
And it screwed up the iOS version so bad that the people can't buy the full release, the DLC. So it's like, yeah, get refunds. We're having to shut this particular version of the game down.
That's so ridiculous. Like, what?
Well, because of a payment system change, they had to shut down the game.
So absurd.
I just thought it was really dumb and wanted to add it for the dumbness.
Flynn.
Hey, we're going to report on our financials. We cannot figure out how to take a payment on anything.
You got to remember, guys.
Has anybody got a Square? Somebody's got a cell phone and a Square. We got to figure this out quickly. Unreal. Let's go do Love It or Leave It. Love It or Leave It is the way we end every episode of the Relic Grind. It's where I give you something Square Enix related. Could be something they did in a game, a feature, a game itself, or anything just tangentially related to the company. And I ask you whether you love it, want more of it, or leave it. And I mean, every time we have a live letter, we do the same thing. The live letter as a whole this time around, Flynn, love it or leave it?
I think I'm on the leave it side.
Oof.
Why?
I'm waiting too long again for the long form content. Yes, they showed bits, but I'm waiting too long. The hype I want to have isn't there. It's like Beatrix is the only thing that's exciting me from it. Like the part 2, when I start to see some footage, maybe it'll be more than Love It.
I honestly did not see that coming. What about you, Tark?
I'm gonna go with Love It because this is the content that was missing from Endwalker. Like I want that long form content. The fact that we got some details, I'm super excited about Time Mage. More of the same stuff: dungeon, trial, raid, all that fun stuff. Great, thank you. But this is the stuff that has been missing that would keep you engaged in your sub past that initial few weeks. So I'm all about it, and yeah, good stuff.
I think I agree with you, actually, Tark. I think I love the live letter. Doesn't mean I'm going to love the content. Doesn't mean I'm going to love everything when it comes out. That'll be a different love it or leave it when we get there. But I did like, this still could have been a little shorter, but they all can be a little shorter. But having two big, in-depth pieces of content to go through, then the MSQ, the dungeon looks great, the raid looks great. Whether I like the content itself or not, we'll talk about when the patch actually drops in late March. But as far as a live letter, yeah, I kind of feel like I love this one. I like the experimentation stuff with the phantom jobs. Again, whether I like the execution or not, we'll see going forward. But I like some of the things they're messing around with. I just wish they'd start messing around with some of the more staple content, right? Have fun with dungeons. They don't need to all just be a straight line, right? There's something cool about a dungeon where it's like, which boss do we not want to fight today because there's alternate ways through this place? Like, that's interesting content.
Yeah,
and
give
that's
us Criterion dungeons in the MSQ.
Yeah, like that's not hard stuff to do.
Yeah, a variant thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with love it. I think I agree with you, Tark. That's going to do it for our episode here today. Let us know what you thought of everything in the live letter, the financials, Dragon Quest XII, and everything else we discussed on the show. And let us know, most importantly, if you are going to take advantage of the Final Fantasy XI discount. I'm actually really curious how many people take advantage of this because I think I legitimately think this is the survey. And if you don't do it now, it's going to give them the reason not to give a discount. And we'll just talk about how they should do it for decades to come. That's until next Thursday, Mr. Berlin. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me here every Thursday. Otherwise, I could be streaming on Twitch randomly at the minute after being Crisis. Could be trying out Valkyrie Profile Elysium, finally.
Tark.
Yeah. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, all Tark Off Gaming, playing Final Fantasy XIV most days of the week. It's a little bit of Dark Souls too. And then Saturday nights here on Ready Check Radio, and we're in the middle of Final Fantasy II.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me right there at Magic Man 1, but more importantly, follow at RC Radio. That way you'll know every time we're going live with a podcast. Final Fantasy Trading Card Game live locals on Mondays, or any of our streamers just hanging out, playing games. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers. Later.